Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nasalli ala rasulihi al-Kareem. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When we travel to a city for the first time, we develop a bucket list of things to do, places to visit, restaurants to eat at during our stay over there. And we rely on friends who've gone there before or websites such as TripAdvisor to make this list. Same thing happens when you go to Mecca and Medina for Umrah or Hajj. People will tell you things like, this is the most exciting thing there, this is the most exciting thing there, and everyone has their own opinion. My personal favorite, not to say one is more or less than the other, the thing that I look forward to every single time I go to Mecca and Medina, the thing that I'm excited about is the arrival in Madinah al-Munawwarah. The first time that we arrive in Medina to say salam to the Prophet ﷺ, that's the most surreal moment for me. And that's why I always try to organize our trips in a way where I go to Madinah al-Munawwarah first and then Mecca afterwards. And I remember this was a trip in 2017 Hajj. It was August 26th. We arrived in Madinah al-Munawwarah. And this was after a long trip. I drove from Detroit to Chicago, then Chicago took a flight to Dubai, and there was 8 or 10 hour layover. Those are killers. Kind of restless the whole time. And then we finally get to the city of Medina at the airport, and I didn't realize that we were with a group, and this is my first time in a group in Hajj. Before that, Umrah was easy. You arrive, you leave the airport, so it was a few hours you have to get everyone together, and so that tested my patience. But the excitement was building up. All the poems of arriving in Medina were echoing through my mind. And during that time in the airport, I developed the best friendships as we were waiting, because it was a test of my patience, but it was amazing. We were waiting and people were frustrated. This is going on. And there was one youngster in particular that caught my eye because of the way others were looking at him in the airport. They were giving him the strangest looks. It's how people like the, Homeland Security or the airport security in America looks at me when I walk into the airport with my big turban on. Like that. They were looking at him like that, like the strangest look. And I can resonate with those looks. And there was the security of the airport, the staff members, everyone was just looking at him all strange. And I didn't realize why they're looking at him strange. And because I just came from America. But then I realized after a few moments, they're looking at him because of his really high shorts. He was wearing shorts and his hands were in his pocket. His shorts were at least like 7 or 8 inches above his knees. I told him, he's in the Guinness Book of Records for wearing the highest shorts ever in Madinah al-Munawwarah. And poor guy didn't know any better. He's this innocent youngster who came to Madinah al-Munawwarah for the first time. Didn't know anyone. Allah accepted him. Allah accepts everyone from all walks of life. Allah accepted him to be in the city of Medina and perform Hajj, and only Allah knows how much he really benefited and truly benefited from this journey. So he had a really kind heart, generous person. One day we'll speak about him as well. We were waiting, and these 2 women, there were old, elderly women in our group. They were on their wheelchairs and they had to be pushed, and he just automatically starts pushing one of them, and I just follow pursuit. He gets all the reward because he started first, and then I start pushing, and these women start making dua for us. And their du'as were, Allah give him a pious spouse, beautiful, and salihah, mu'mina, afifa, taqiyya. They started, and they didn't realize I understood Arabic. So after a few moments, I stopped the wheelchair, and I go up to the lady. I say, Mother, I'm already married, so don't make dua for that, please. And I didn't tell her what dua to make. I just said, just don't make that dua. Alhamdulillah, I'm already married. So then she changes her dua and she starts making dua that I have, pious children that are the coolness of my eyes. And just a few months later, like in March of the next year, I had my 3rd son, Hussein. I didn't know my wife was expecting at that time, so I do believe this son of mine is the manifestation of the dua of this woman that we were just serving. Because anyone you serve, Allah accepts their dua. And the other one made dua for him to get married, and he ended up getting married, and him and his wife are living in the Bay Area now. So then we finally get on the bus. And while we're on the bus, I usually, all the poems of arriving in Medina are going through my head. One in particular, Hum Madine mein tanha nikal jayenge aur galiyon mein qasdan batak jayenge. हम वहाँ जाके वापस नहीं आएंगे, ढूंढते ढूंढते लोग थक जाएंगे. So this poet's, this is going through my head. When we get to Medina, I'm just gonna wander in the streets of Medina. People are gonna look for me, they can't find me. And then finally, as the bus is arriving close to Haram, you start seeing the green dome. जैसे ही सब्ज गुंबद नजर आएगा बंदगी का करीना बदल जाएगा सर झुकाने की फुर्सत मिलेगी किसे खुद ही पलकों से सजदे टपक जाएंगे. He says, when I first see the green dome and I'm getting closer to the Haram, how would I even out of humility put my head down and do sajda? I don't have to do that, because as I see it, my tears will be flowing down my eyes and my tears will be falling in sajda. I mean, these poets, how they capture these moments is unbelievable. So, this is going through my head. And then we arrive at the hotel, and when we get there, our rooms are not available for us. We can't take a shower, get ready to go. So it was kind of a bummer that we couldn't go right away. But nonetheless, we took advantage of that moment, and at that moment they were going to Mount Uhud for ziyarat, and Sheikh Umar Sulaiman was in that group. So we just said, let's go for ziyarat. And then we went for ziyarat, and then so all day we ended up spending 3-4 hours more, and now the excitement's building up, and the people that are with me, their excitement is building up. And then we finally get back and our rooms are open, and now we can go to say salam for the first time. And now as we go to Haram to say salam with a group of youngsters, we're walking in, many of them for the first time, and I walk through the door, right? And there's a few of us that were with me, they just froze. As they were entering the door of the masjid, they froze. I looked back, I said, come on, let's go. And this story I've heard from other people as well. I said, come on, let's go. They just froze. They couldn't speak. First time coming, but they just couldn't come inside. And, just because I was so excited, I said, you know what, I'll come back and get these guys later. Let me just go. I said, go, for the first time in this visit, I go say salam. And every time I say salam, I recite that poem that a Bedouin came and recited at the grave of the Prophet ﷺ many years before, and that poem now is engraved on the walls of the Masjid Nabawi. Ya khayra man dufinat bilqa'i a'zamuhu فطاب من طيبهن القاع والأكم نفس الفداء لقبر أنت ساكنه فيه العفاف وفيه الجود والكرم أنت الشفيع الذي ترجى شفاعته على الصراط ما زلت القدم وصاحباك فلا أنساهما أبدا مني السلام عليكما ما جل القلم. And it's a lengthy poem. He says, Ya khayra man dufinat bilqa'i a'zamuhu, or the best one who ever has been buried in the soil. فطاب من طيبهن القاع والأكم. Every single thing around the soil has developed this fragrance and beautiful scent because of your body touching it. My body, my life may be sacrificed for you. لقبر أنت ساك فيه العفاف وفيه الجود والكرم. In this grave, the one who's resting in it, there's modesty, there's karam, there's nobility, there's generosity, and he highlights the qualities of the Prophet ﷺ in this poem. So I always mention this poem when I get to the grave of the Prophet ﷺ. And then afterwards I come back and I see them, and I say, why don't you come in? And they said, we couldn't. We froze. So, and because of regret, of embarrassment, that, imagine if the Prophet was alive today, how would we face him? We are full of sins. And that caught me for the rest of my life. When we're leaving this world, what would be our sentiments and feeling? And would we be excited? Imam Shafi'i, when he's on his deathbed, he was excited. He says, حوالي فضل الله من كل جانب ونور من الرحمن يفترش السماء وفي القلب إشراق المحب بوصله إذا قارب البشرى وجاز إلى الحمى. He says, look, this is the best time of my life. I'm going to pass away right now, and I'm going to be able to see Allah and see the Prophet ﷺ in Akhirah. I was waiting for this all along. So what will be our level of excitement when we see the Prophet ﷺ on the Day of Judgment? Would he be proud of us? Would he be happy seeing us? Would he hug us? These are the questions that should echo in our mind. And like how those few youngsters, how they never walked in because they were embarrassed. There were many scholars who could not, come and say salam to the Prophet from the front. They would say it from the feet side. So this message I leave with you all and myself, and it was a message that resonated for the rest of my life, is inshallah when we leave this world, we will be excited. And when the Prophet sees us on the Day of Judgment, he'll be proud of us for upholding his sunnah in this time and age. May Allah make us among those when the Prophet sees us, he hugs us and he's proud of us. Jazakallah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.